Hey guys, this is Austin with Spanish Sports and Spice. I teach Spanish with a method that actually works, a focus on verb conjugations and controlled yet natural conversation. But I also take a look at how learning another language, learning another culture, how these things are related to life in general and to things such as sports. If you like the content, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and take a look at the Spanish Sports and Spice blog. The link will be in the description. Let's get into the video. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about how knowing a second language, learning a second language, how this is related to intelligence. Have you ever made fun of somebody with a foreign accent? I know I have, especially when I was younger. I'm not talking about when somebody with a foreign accent, someone learning another language makes an honest mistake that's actually funny. Maybe they say something like testicles and they meant to say tentacles, and somebody laughs. That can be understandable. I'm talking more about when something in the realm of arrogance within us. Maybe we don't know it's there, but it's there and it motivates us to make fun of someone, to put somebody down just because they have a foreign accent. They didn't really say anything that was that funny or make that big of an error, but just because they didn't say it 100% how we're used to, we make fun of them. We put them down. And what's interesting about that is, especially when we're younger and we're in that situation, we almost take a foreign accent as a sign of a lack of intelligence. Oh, he doesn't know how to say it just right, so he must be a little dumb. But is that the case? Sometimes when we think about someone with a foreign accent, we miss the obvious. A foreign accent is a sign that somebody already knows a second language. We may only know one language, and we see this person with a foreign accent, and we're making fun of them because we think they're a little dumb, and they know at least two languages. Today, we're going to talk about how there are some incredible, truly astonishing scientific studies that seem to indicate that someone who knows two languages is probably smarter than somebody who only knows one language. Obviously, there's other factors, and it's not always the case. We can't say it's always like that, but these scientific studies do suggest that generally speaking, somebody who knows two or more languages is probably smarter than someone who only knows one language. We're going to look at an article here from the Spanish Sports and Spice blog website. And this article, very nicely for us, highlights some of these mind boggling, crazy scientific studies. The title of the article is On Arrogance in Language and Intelligence. And as the article says right there in the middle, it says studies suggest that bilinguals may be smarter and stay smarter longer. The first study that the article analyzes is from a cognitive neuroscientist from York University, and it was a test on the cognitive abilities of 104 middle aged and older adults. So, this is just a straight intelligence test, cognitive abilities. And what were the results of the test? A newspaper from Canada reports here that bilingual adults performed better. Obviously, there's always different factors that we have to keep in mind, and we don't want to generalize. But we do have a test here, a test on cognitive abilities, straight intelligence, and the bilinguals generally performed better than ones who only knew one language. The newspaper goes on to report that the bilingual advantage increased substantially in those over 60. It shows that a specific experience bilingualism has the ability to modify a central aspect of cognitive functioning and keep the brain functioning at a higher level as normal aging inevitably slows us down. That's crazy when you really think about it. In general, the bilinguals performed better on this intelligence test than those who only knew one language. but especially the ones who knew two or more languages that had that were over 60 years of age, they really outperformed the ones who were over 60 who only knew one language. This shows that knowing two languages may actually help to fight against the part of the natural aging process that causes us to sort of lose our intelligence or for the brain to kind of lose it as we get older. Really interesting stuff. This cognitive neuroscientist went on to do another study, and she explained the results of that study in an interview with the New York Times. And this study involved Alzheimer's patients. And she says, we looked at the medical records of 400 Alzheimer's patients. On average, the bilinguals showed Alzheimer's symptoms 5 or 6 years later than those who spoke only one language. This didn't mean that the bilinguals didn't have Alzheimer's. It meant that as the disease took root in their brains, they were able to continue functioning at a higher level. They could cope with the disease for longer. Really amazing stuff. So, knowing a second language can actually help fight against the symptoms of Alzheimer's when someone gets older, where the disease is causing you to lose your memory, lose your intelligence. Knowing a second language can't totally stop it, but it fights against it for longer. They show the symptoms 5 to 6 years later, 5 or 6 years later, than someone who only knew one language. Really incredible stuff. But the most mind boggling study that this article reports on has to do with a study that was reported on by Knowable Magazine. And basically, the study that Knowable Magazine reports is that bilinguals probably have more gray matter than those who only know one language. When I first read that, I have to admit I had no idea what gray matter is. That sounded like something out of Star Wars. So I looked it up from Cleveland Clinic and I learned that gray matter is a type of brain tissue that has a high concentration of neurons, brain cells, a lot of brain cells concentrated and also branches for communication with other cells. And Cleveland Clinic goes on to say that gray matter is a seat of a human's unique ability to think and reason. So we're talking about the actual parts of the brain that have to do literally with intelligence. And we have a picture showing the results of a test that was conducted on the brain matter of university students. And on one side, we see the brains of those who knew more than one language. And then on the other side, we see the brains of those who only knew one language. And the red parts represent where one group had more gray matter than the other group. And as you can see there in the picture, the bilinguals literally had more gray matter, more concentrations of these brain cells in comparison with the ones who only knew one language. As we take a look at these studies, as I took a look at these studies, it made me think a little bit about how when I was younger, and I would make fun of somebody who had a foreign accent, kind of join that crowd of arrogance. When others did it, I would do the same thing. And now, as I look at these studies and look at my life experiences, I realize that someone who had a foreign accent, that wasn't something to make fun of. That wasn't a sign of embarrassment. That wasn't a sign of indignity. That was a sign that that person was probably smarter than me. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like the content, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter and take a look at that Spanish Sports and Spice blog. Till next time, keep in mind, language is a bridge between life and spice.